We are gathered here today to honor Sandy Rand. Sandy, stand up. Let's hear a round of applause for Sandy Rand. Thank you, Sandy. You might know him as our president. Yesterday, last night, we had a graphics meeting, and at that graphics meeting, Bill Perkinson and Harvey Phillips handed me a file for a slideshow that they were working on for you, Sandy. So I took that file, and I was up last night till 1:30 adding to it, and I finished it at 2 o'clock this afternoon. Wow. I have not proofed it. I have no idea if this is going to work. So say a little prayer for me, and we'll start.
It started based upon the TRS-80 Model 1 by Radio Shack. It wasn't until the mid-80s that we moved over to the PC, thanks to Tandy 1000. Sandy joined the club in 1991, 92, thereabouts, and very quickly he took on some jobs that probably no one else wanted. He became the advertising manager and the hardware coordinator. And little did we know at that time, but Sandy went right to work developing a database with an extensive list of vendors. And what do you think he did with those vendors? Well, first of all, with the database, there was no access, but this was maybe the beginnings of access, and there was no Visual Basic. And later on, as we know, those who participate in the access workshop, Sandy really knows his stuff in VBA. But when he doesn't know something, he does what we all do. He goes out to the internet. So he is very resourceful. But along the way, he says, I can do it. Whatever it is, he says, I can do it. So getting back to this little job that he had as advertising manager and hardware coordinator, he sent out 50 letters. Maybe a week, maybe a month, and stuff started to fly into BCUG. So much that it took UPS 3 trips a week to fill up his basement. And I don't know if I know he dabbles in the stock market. I don't know if he invested in UPS, but I'd like to know if he still has some of the stuff in his basement that he's acquired over the years. But he built a treasury based upon auctioning off his so-called stuff, and it averaged about $300 a month back in 1990. And I wish we had that today, but that was then, and now is now. So Sandy, we have a lot to give you thanks for, especially the movement with the Treasury, with the auction, with the program, and the hardware coordinator. Later on, as we all know, shortly after that, he came on to become our president. The other thing I'd like you to paint a picture about Sandy is, I don't know exactly when it happened, but I have a training center where I train computers, and Sandy approached me, or I looked for someone to do some teaching, and sure enough, Sandy fit the bill and did an excellent job. And I have to take some credit that, Sandy is very complimentary, very gracious in saying that I taught him everything he knows, but of course we know that's not true. But I wasn't good enough for him. He does a lot of traveling, as we know. That's why he doesn't attend all the meetings. And he wanted to do some itinerant teaching on the QE2, the ocean liner. So here we now are going from my local training center to international waters. And Sandy got the job, and I'd like you to just take a quick listen as to what it sounded like as he was teaching on the QE2.
Ponte son Bildschirm mit der
Ponte
Maus.
sur l'écran avec la souris.
Aponte para a tela com o
Puntua la
mouse.
pantalla con el ratón.
Kliknijcie na obrazok
要
kozmiszu.
引用鼠标在屏幕。
Now, all Sandy was trying to instruct them was to point to the screen, point on the screen with the mouse. So, as Sandy tells it, sure enough, they pick up the mouse and they point it to the screen. Right? So, I don't think we need to be here. I don't think Sandy needs this dinner, to be honest with you. I think he needs Rosetta Stone, to be honest. Sandy gives credit to lots of us who have done things for the club, but I think a lot of credit has to go to Sandy for keeping BCUG going, and I hope that Sandy keeps coming along for the ride. So, good luck to you, Sandy, and we really appreciate it.
Our next guest speaker tonight will be Ruth, and Ruth is going to give us a gratitude. Ruth?
Hello, and hello, Sandy.
Microphone much closer.
Oh. All right. I had planned to start our appreciation of Sandy's 11 years as president of BCUG by offering to bring in my sick PC, hoping for a revival by Sandy, who is known for his powers of resuscitation. But then I had second thoughts, so I didn't want anything to interfere with our buffet, so I'll skip that. No computer today. But I have another example, only a few days ago, of Sandy's efforts on behalf of BCUG. He was restoring a donated netbook that was to be a possible computer for the club. He was in the process of updating its operating system and testing its reliability when the netbook decided it needed to do 33 updates. Well, I walked in the middle of this and to pick up the equipment for that evening's workshop. And okay, I should have been a wreck, but Sandy calmly waited for the updates to finish so he could test the results. While there, no doubt, are many instances of Sandy's getting out of his way to make things run smoothly, I'll skip now to a few instances where he collaborated with the help of the rest of the BCUG board, benefited us all. Someone suggested that BCUG would save money. Instead of mailing out the newsletter, we printed it as before, but instead of mailing it out to members, either distributed it at various BCUG events or offered it online. The plus was that members got a roughly 16-page newsletter online and in color, or the standard 10-page printed version. My impression is that this has been very successful, with both the online receivers and the print copy receivers very happy. And the change in delivery has saved us approximately $2,000 per year, according to Pat DeSan, our treasurer. So that was one thing. John Corbett, previous president also, has noted Sandy's receiving additional revenue for the club. continued effort to promote advertising in newsletters, and receiving cutting-edge software from vendors for raffles and auction. In the interest of time, I'm going to cut these accolades short, but not without saying what a pleasure it has been to serve on the board, including the last 11 years with Sandy at its helm. We will miss Sandy.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, I'm Joe. I've been called many things and held many positions here at BUG, but Sandy is the only one to have called me an early adopter. I hardly knew what that meant before I met Sandy and all of you in the embrace of our beloved users group. My first encounter with Sandy was at a small, and I mean small, computer school where Lee and I were employed as instructors. Back in 1998 or so, Lee told me that Sandy was the then president of this computer users group, or something like that, and I was highly impressed. How can a lofty president be a computer instructor? Shouldn't he be like on a throne made of motherboards and Cat5 cables? But Sandy turned out to be not a privileged, unreachable Einstein. He was in fact a highly approachable, down-to-earth one. We connected immediately and since then have had a great relationship. Maybe I'm naive, but I did get a few phone calls from Sandy along the way. I just recently caught on that those phone calls were not to see how I was doing, but to get something done in the club. Ha ha. Here's the problem. I could never say no. After all, Sandy is the one who considered me advanced enough to try Windows 7 when most of our clubs seemed hesitant. I had a period, in fact, where I downloaded so many free apps to one of my systems, I blew it up a few times. I have learned since then. I have scaled down a bit and settled on a workflow that fits me. But I do credit Sandy, who managed to rein in my energies and put me in charge of programs, a position I held and really enjoyed until I stepped down in order to pursue my artistic endeavors. Those are going well, by the way. Now I'm an avid graphics and meetup member, so I traded one activity for two. Typical. I do credit Sandy with my ambitious explorations of new software and new devices in the technical area. I'm less afraid of things that start with an E, but remain very respectful of the one that starts with an S. So let's raise our water glasses to a great guy who, although not at the helm, is no longer at the helm, is certainly at the right hand of our new officers and all of us. Thank you, Sandy.
I've been the editor of the newsletter BCUG Bytes or Bug Bytes for I think 11 years now, and going on 12. And of course, getting that position was a little bit, controversial, but it all worked out. And I got to say, Sandy has been, it's been a great working relationship with him. I've enjoyed doing Bug Bytes for a while now, and hopefully it's a good newsletter. It was a good newsletter under the previous editor, Andrea Tarr, who I don't know if she's here or not.
She's supposed to be.
Yes, anyway. So, and I'm sort of burning time here. But I can say that it's been a wonderful working relationship with everybody in Bug Bytes, in Bug, BCUG, and but especially with Sandy. He's been an excellent leader. I've enjoyed working with him. Sometimes I would ask him and the board to reconsider whether they want to continue to pay me as much as they do to do the newsletter. There was never a question about that, so I felt comfortable with that. And it's been great, and I know I will miss him a lot. He's not going anywhere, but he won't be the leader after tonight. And I assume that all of us will pick at somebody that's going to hopefully fill his shoes or get close to it. Also, before I forget, when Mac Waves used to be called MOPMUG, Macintosh User Group, and there was animosity between Mac users and PC users. And thanks to Sandy and to John Corbett, when we had to find somebody that could help us get insurance to meet in public buildings, they stepped forward and invited us to join. All we had to do was ask our members to join BCUG, which most of them did, and it's been an excellent relationship, even though sometimes I fan the flames of that little disagreement about Mac versus PC, or Mac versus Windows, but that was a really classy thing to do, to invite us in. And we're really grateful to Sandy and to John for making that happen and keeping us, bringing us into the fold and embracing us. So the MacWaves members got together and got you a little gift, which I'll present. And we are very grateful for your leadership, and we wish you all the happiness in the world and enjoy your second retirement or third retirement. He's still gainfully employed too, so, you know, over at the school. And, but anyway, we're really grateful for your support and for your wonderful leadership, and we hope you'll stick around. So, I'm making this all up as I go, by the way. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. David Klein works with Sandy over at Oak Hill Academy.
About a year after joining the group, BCUG, I found out that Sandy and his volunteers, that Sandy and his cronies were volunteering at FRA, helping fix PCs for underprivileged people and needy people. So I thought it was a great idea, and I decided to help out. So of course I learned a lot about fixing PCs from Sandy while I was there. Sandy also works at Oak Hill Academy, and many times he used an example of something that happened at Oak Hill to show a problem and how to fix it. At one point, I learned that Sandy was looking for help at the school, and I approached him about working there. I had learned a lot from BCUG meetings and volunteering at FRA, but honestly, I had still a lot to learn. This is the type of person and teacher he is. Sandy saw I had the potential to do the job. Basically, he took me under his wing. He has taken me under his wing and mentored me and taught me all the basics to get the job done. While working with Sandy, I have learned a few of his mannerisms. One of which is that when we work on a problem or accomplish something, he turns to me with a big boyish enthusiasm and a huge smile, raises his hands up, and says, "Yay!" I've seen a lot of different mannerisms from Sandy that's cute like that. I have learned much from Sandy at BCUG, FRA, OHA, and I still hope to learn more. I have spent enough time with him to appreciate the great person he is. Thanks from all your friends at BCUG, elves, computer cronies, and especially me. So Sandy, for all your years of service to BCUG as president, workshop leader, and more, yay!
Thank you, David. Our next speaker is Robin. Robin, come on, fly over. Robin works with Sandy over at FRA, which is Family Resources Associates. Okay. And in about a minute and a half, Robin's going to give us a very concise statement.
Robin, can you stand over here or over there so I can get you in the frame?
Okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and Sandy. I learned about BCUG quite by chance. I had retired from my work at Bell Labs, and I was spending quite a bit of time at local libraries. And one day, I happened to notice this BCUG magazine, which I had never seen before. So I picked up a copy, went home and read it, and sounded very interesting. And I said, okay, I would like to participate with this group. I called up Paula, And then she invited me to come to one of the general meetings. And when I went to the general meeting, first time I met Sandy there. And then he explained the organization, and he said all the workshops that they do, and I found it very interesting, and I joined many of the workshops, graphics, internet, Windows, and so on. And then after I have been going to these meetings a few times, one day, I don't remember the reference, but Sandy said, you know, we do this volunteer work, refurbishing computers in Red Bank. You know about that? I said, no, I don't know about that. So, but the work sounded very interesting. Since my retirement, I haven't had any opportunity to do any hands-on stuff. And I don't touch my computer. I don't open it up because I'm afraid something will break and I will not be able to fix it. So here was my opportunity to go and break somebody else's computer and learn. So I volunteered and I joined. I kept coming. And this has been one of the most rewarding experience. Rewarding, satisfying, and very enjoyable. And that happened only because Sandy has been extremely cooperative, willing to teach. He has very good knowledge of all the computers and the operating systems, and specifically web-based resources. If I go to him with some issue with a particular computer I'm working on, he'll say, go to this website and see what you can find out. I didn't even know the existence of that website. So I would go there, and boy, there will be an answer, most likely, most of the time. So this has been a very satisfying and rewarding and enjoyable experience at the FRA. And so because of Sandy, he has very good rapport with the operating staff there, and it has a very congenial atmosphere. So thank you, Sandy, and I hope I can continue to work with you for many more years.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Robbie. And for our last speaker, John Corbett. John Corbett is also another vice president, as was Ruth. I didn't mention that before. And John is more than just a past president. He's also a very good personal friend.
Can you hear me back there, Sandy? Yeah. But you can't see me. I'll move over. Okay. Sandy and I go back to 1992 when we became members of BCUG. 3 years after my joining, I attended a board meeting. I slipped out to the bathroom, and when I came back, I was president. Sandy became vice president, and that's where we began to work together for the club. Sandy was president for over 10 years, if you don't count the years that I was president. For even as I was president, Sandy provided me with the support and guidance which made my tenure enjoyable. I wish I had a nickel for every time Sandy came to my house to fix my and my wife's computer. When I told my son, a software engineer at AT&T Research, he said, "Dad, your computer needs a user upgrade." I can recall a computer show, when they used to have them, at the Javits Center. Laden with bags full of software company freebies, we visited the booth together. Sandy said at the end, "This was a good day." I said, "Every day is a good day when spent with you, Sandy." On another occasion, I took Sandy to a Monday night Jets game. Adhering to our 3-touchdown rule, we left the game with the Jets losing badly by 3 TDs. Driving past Newark Airport, we listened to the game on the car radio. The Jets were coming back. By the time we had arrived home, they had won. This could prove embarrassing. "Now, John," Sandy said, We must get our stories straight. We never left the game. We stayed until the end. We watched the most exciting comeback in Jets history. We had become fast friends. And when he became president, I was treasurer, we talked on the phone many times each week, giving each other updates on club doings. We went out to dinner a lot. We shared wings at Charlie Brown's after club general meetings. Some years later, Sandy's wife, Jeanette, passed away, and Sandy was alone. We invited him over for dinner. He took me to a comedy club for my birthday, greased somebody's palms, and got us front row seats. We spent a lot of time together. It was fun. Then Sandy met his soulmate, Anita. No one could have been happier for him than I. Sandy became a new man. Now, since I recently passed on the position of treasurer to Pat Hassan, Sandy and I don't talk as much or even see one another. But he's still there as my friend, checking on me and my recent health issues. Thank you, Sandy, for your steadfast commitment to the club for these many years. And thank you. Thank you for your friendship for all of those years. I'm a better person for having met you. And from the bottom of my heart, I am very proud to call you my best friend.
Thank you, John. John and Sandy, would you come up, please? And give each other a hug. My wife works for a dentist, and I told her we were doing this. She said, I can get you all the plaque you want. Suitable substitute. John is going to make the official presentation.
Presenters, Sandy, thank you so much for everything you
Wait a
did
minute.
at the club. Thank you, Sandy, for all you've done for the club. Am I on?
No.
No.
You just have to scream.
How now, brown cow? Well, Sandy, this is it.
This is it,
This is it.
no matter what they say. John.
Yeah, right. We'd like to present you with this plaque for being president for so many years, in grateful appreciation for all the members of the BCUG club.
Thank you, John.
You're welcome.
So we are not finished. No, we're not finished. There is my official poster, the creation for you to hang up on your wall. Inside there, you are, along with the other 4 presidents.
This is Mount Rushmore.
That's Mount Rushmore. But wait a minute. We don't want you to leave without your mug. Would you open that up and we'll do the official presentation of the mug.
I'm running out of hands.
Pam, you want to help him out?
I got it.
Okay, let's open up the mug.
What are we doing?
We're opening the mug.
You got to show them the mug. That being the mug. Next, we have an envelope. You remember you handed in a check for $35 and a voluntary contribution if you wanted to. Whatever extra money was collected was used to pay for miscellaneous expenses. And whatever is left over, Sandy? We present to Sandy and do it as he pleases.
Okay, am I on now, or?
Yeah.
I'm on, okay. Yeah, all right, first of all, I haven't looked at this, but thank you all very much for coming. And for those of you that donated, that was wonderful. And obviously, I wouldn't take the money, so this will go into the BCU treasury.
Wow. Hey there, folks.
Okay.
And I'm not finished. We have 2 5x7s that goes into your collection. And since this is the season for giving, everybody here will get a copy of the post-stamp in a protective envelope.
I think at this time I'm going to say a few words. And as I look around here, I thought this was going to be a dinner for about 5 or 6 people. It was going to be a little get-together, and so this is pretty overwhelming. But this is, well, Bill Silverman is the kind of guy when he does it right. He always walks the last mile, and that's why his graphics workshop is so successful. And did you notice that slideshow? Yeah. With the Mount Rushmore and the dancing Sandies.
Very well.
Yeah. Bill, that was just masterful.
Thank you. Thank you.
And the next thing I have to say is I know that Bill and Joanne really pulled this together, so thank you so much. And,
You're welcome.
Okay, so I think about big league baseball players, football players, whenever they get interviewed and they did something wonderful, they always give credit to the team. Okay, and that's the way I feel. All of you here tonight, we're a team, BCUG, and I especially want to give credit to the people that are the givers. We talk about the givers and the takers, but the givers are Bill Silverman, Joanne Cruzidi, Bill Perkinson, Bill Chris, David Klein. If I don't mention your name, I apologize, okay? Lee Maxwell, fantastic job as editor. Mary Byrne. I don't know how we're going to replace you. We're trying very hard, but she does a fabulous job with the webpage. Let's see, who else is here? Ruth Lewert. Ruth was a great president in her day, and continues to be a great board member. And Ruth has always given back to the club. Okay. The volunteers that go to Family Resources every other Thursday, refurbishing computers that are donated to needy people. Gail Abrams is here. Let's see, Robin Paul, David Klein. Let's see, anybody else here that goes? Okay, but we do have other members that aren't here tonight that go to that. I don't usually work with notes, but let me just look at this for a second. Okay. John Corbin. Okay. As John said, he and I were we were kind of partners in leading the club for many years. He was the president. I was the vice president. John, I have to tell him this now. Sometimes I would call John on a Monday. Remember? And I would say, John, you know, we have a meeting this Friday. He'd say, we do? This was a partnership. Okay, let's see. Okay, John Stampfel. I'm so happy that John has stepped up and he's running for election for president tonight. And I have to tell you, the first time John showed up at one of our meetings, and somehow he got up and talked about something, and I knew that he was going to be valuable to the club, just from what he said. Because he mentioned that he was volunteering and he was teaching senior citizens, and that was a good thing. That's the kind of person that gives back. And he's so good technically, and he just knows how to make things happen. So John, so happy that you're taking over, okay? And I'll give you all the support I can. Okay, I think that covers everything, and just want to thank you all and enjoy the dinner. Thank you.
You gave John a nice big hug. I'm sure everybody wants to give you a nice big hug too. So I'm going to do the ceremonial hug for everybody.
There you go.
Thank you, everybody. That's it for the official presentations. And now, open up your envelope. One of them has a surprise trip to Disney World. And if you believe that, well, enjoy your meal.